Morning, or afternoon, or indeed good evening, depending on the time of where you are right now. It's me. It's not a very exciting edition of e-NV200 adventures today. No adventure in this episode, but what we do have is me on a mission to try, or for, well, actually not for me to try, but for the dealer to try and find the source and fix the source of the problem that is creating a tapping beneath my driver's seat. It's taken weeks, not weeks. The sound has happened and continued over a number of weeks, indeed months, and I've done my best to try and find the source of the problem myself, because obviously it's easier for me to try and find the problem, fix it myself, and not have to do this and drive to the dealer and mess around and so on. But anyway, everything I've done has resulted in me not finding the tapping. I know roughly where it's coming from. With these sort of sounds, it's very deceptive at times, depending on where you're sitting. My wife, Mrs. C, when she's sitting across there in the passenger chair, she thought it was coming from her side, then she thought it was coming from somewhere near the brake pedal, sorry. But what we've got to, through our own minor investigations, is that the sound is coming from beneath my seat here. And it's like a metallic, metal upon metal tap. Just had to give it a bit of a thrash there. Somebody coming out very quickly at a roundabout. So anyway, yeah, so it is annoying. I can't hear it right now because I'm shouting over the noise of the tyres, but it's certainly there. And what I actually did was I put my camcorder under the driver's seat, and I put it under other positions as well. Put it under the passenger seat, behind, near the brake pedal and so on. But the loudest noise on the playback of the video is under my seat, and it is very loud. It's like somebody taking a spoon and tapping the top of the camcorder. It's that loud. But there's cables under here, presumably for the heated seat and whatever else, seat belt monitor or whatever. So I'm just trying to decide which way I go to get to where I'm going. It's anyway, so yeah. So anyway, everything and anything that could make this tap, because the seat itself is kind of like constructed like a metal box, and upon the metal box is the seat. So we've got a big void within this box. So you think, well, I thought a cable harness or whatever, just moving and tapping, tap on this metal box. That's got to be the problem, but it wasn't. I've moved and tried to replicate everything, and it's not. So where it is, I cannot say. If it's underneath the carpet and it's some cable under there tapping on the chassis of the car or the battery pack, I have no idea. But it's certainly nothing that I can see. Certainly nothing that I can replicate by moving anything. So now it's over to the dealer now. Up to them to try and find.
200 yards, speed camera.
Thank you. It's up to them to try and find the problem. Talking about the dealer, obviously, if you've been watching the videos, you'll have seen my ramblings about the heat, the excess heat, the hot battery. Oh look, there's a crazy person in front of me on my side of the road. What a fool. Anyway. Ah dear, what a wild ride today. It is every day. You get idiots everywhere. Somebody driving towards me then. If only I had two cameras and you could have seen the peril and the danger I was in right then.
In 200 yards, speed camera.
Thank you. Anyway, what I'm getting to is that obviously, yeah, we had a problem, a Rapidgate problem, we could say, and we all watched, or some of us have watched Bjorn Nyland's video when he test drove, not he didn't test drive it, but he was using it as part of some kind of challenger race when he drove the e-NV200 40 kilowatt, and he found that it had the same problem of battery overheating, just as we did, and that's why we ended up on a what should have been a 5-hour drive became a 10-hour drive. So because of the slowness of the battery charging. I'm just going to wipe the lens. Slightly better, I think. So yeah, so I emailed the dealership on I think it was Tuesday, possibly Wednesday. Today's Saturday, and they have not come back to me. But not trying to paint a poor picture of the dealer, but indeed I have emailed other questions in the past after buying the car, after paying the 30,000, and I've had no replies. So it's kind of like, before you give them the final balance payment, they're there to help, and then after that it kind of becomes a little poorer. Even if the person I emailed, he feels it's not his problem or his department, you would at the least expect him to pass it on to somebody else and say, look, this isn't my thing, so and so will deal with this, and you know, but nothing. So I will be mentioning that when I get there. It's like anything, if I go to
300 yards, speed camera.
Thank you again. If I go to Lidl and I buy a bag of potatoes and I find I chop into those potatoes and each one of them is rotten, I'll take them back to Lidl and say, look at this bag of potatoes, they're all rotten inside. Would you mind replacing them or giving my money back? And I would expect them to smile and say, yes, of course. Here's a fresh bag of potatoes, or here's a credit back, or it's your credit card, debit card, whatever. Obviously, in reality, I'd never go back with a £1.50 bag of potatoes, but that's what you expect. No matter what you're paying, you'd expect to get a good level of service, and when you've paid the thick end of £30,000, again, you expect somebody to come back to you, email you back, and say, okay, we're going to email this, and we're going to get some answers for you, but nothing. But in all of these things, in all of life's problems, what I do is I try to reserve judgment. I try not to jump to any conclusions. And I'll tell you now that with the Hyundai dealership, we had a very, very poor relationship with them, with our last car. It got to the point where we live in Hull. There is only one Hyundai dealership in Hull, so we're pretty much stuck with them. Very, very, very poor service there. Very poor service. And just to give you an idea of things, I mean, it was like we had all kinds of, not massive problems, but we did have problems with the first problem, real quick, a door, the car itself was locking itself. At times with keys in, which created us problems. And you've all seen Seth, my son. At the time, poor old Seth, when he was a baby Seth, the car locked him in, and I had to get a car locksmith to come break him out. It took over an hour. The poor little lad sat in his car seat. Anyway, it was in and out for them trying to resolve the problem. They said they could never find a problem. In the end, after weeks of them having it in every now and again, I found the source of the problem, and the source of the problem was a faulty courtesy light switch, which, because that was jammed in effect, the car was thinking that the doors at some given points were never been opened, so after 60 seconds it would lock itself, and that's what had happened, and that's why Seth got locked in the car. They couldn't find it, I found it. Not a major thing, okay, we're all human, we all make mistakes, we're all fallible in one way or another, I certainly am, but they failed to find that. And you say, well, why? Why did you have such a poor relationship with the dealer? Well, it was accumulation. On aggregate, lots of little things, lots of little mistakes, lots of little problems. But there was a big problem. We had our car in there. It failed an MOT on its brake discs. Every one of the brake discs needed replacing. And it was some crazy price, £1,700 or something. And I got somebody else to do it for a fraction of the cost. So I said, look, can you please put it all back together? I'll come and collect it, I'll get it done elsewhere, I'll bring it back and you retest and so on. I got the car back and they hadn't connected the rear. It was something to do with the you know, I'm not mechanically minded, but it's something to do with the handbrake and the rear brakes, because I believe when you pull on the handbrake, the rear brakes in effect are locked on. And I put my car on the drive, I pulled on the handbrake, and our drive slopes quite a steep slope to the road there, all to do with flood risk and all the rest of it. The house is built up. But what I'm getting to is I put the handbrake on, and the car just rolled back off the drive because the handbrake wasn't connected to the rear brakes. So yes, in the end, and they got kind of snotty with me at many occasions. Like somehow or other, I was expecting way too much. So what I'm getting to is I don't want that kind of relationship with Nissan here. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to be Mr. Chilled Out Man with them, and I'm going to just put it to them politely and say, look, do we have a response? Has this chap bothered to, even though he's not emailed me, has he bothered to email Nissan? And see where we go. Because as I say, with the Hyundai, we ended up having to drive miles and miles out of town to go to another city to get it serviced, to get it problems looked at, and so on, because the relationship with the Hyundai dealer in Hull had got to such a point of basically me not trusting anything that they did, that it had to be that I had to go elsewhere, and I don't want that to happen here. So right now I am going to use Google Maps to get me to where I'm going. I do know where it is, but I just want to get there on time and not get lost. So right now we will cut back after we get the car back today. Trying not to sound too pessimistic and not overly optimistic that it will indeed find the source of the problem. But maybe that's because my old perception of dealers and the poor show that we had from the Hyundai dealer has led me to think, well, all dealerships are the same. They're all pretty much the same. That they love selling cars, but the after sales is a bit crap. But we'll see. Time will tell. Got to give them the benefit of the doubt. So, right, I will continue my drive now, and we'll see you later for the second half of this exciting video. See you in a second. Right, we're just leaving the Nissan dealership now. Just an update on a couple of things. On the tap-in, we've got to take it back. Now, whether it's because they don't have enough time today to thoroughly investigate it, I don't know. And we've not really been told much, but not being negative about the dealer whatsoever. So it's booked in, I believe, for the last week of October, the half-term week, and we're doing that because basically we need the van with 7 seats for what we do for work. So that week we don't really need it as much, so yeah, it's in for that week. And they've booked in for a few days to see whatever the problem is and why it's knocking or tapping. Secondly, on to Rapidgate. And obviously, yes, we did have big problems last weekend, but the guy who I'd emailed, and I mentioned that we'd had no response, he happened to be putting some things on car windscreens, and so he was the first person I saw on the forecourt, and I just, before I shook his hand, and the first thing he said to me, look, I saw your email when I was on my holiday day, and then when I got back to work I totally forgot about your email. So we're all human beings, that's no problem. And he went on to say that they will get nothing from Nissan other than the fixed statement, which I believe is a statement of fairly late, about the 2018 Leaf, which is that they have put battery management into the software to protect the battery, hence the restricted charging on Rapids. Just moving my camera, my CCTV's been knocked. So looks like with the dealer we're not going to get much further right now, so maybe an email I'm laughing because I know what Nissan customer service is like. I'm thinking an email to Nissan customer service and see whether we can get something from them in writing as to just their response to what is an evident problem. I believe that they say that your first rapid can be unthrottled, if you like, and thereafter each subsequent rapid charge would then be restricted. It's my experience, I feel it's my experience, and I cannot document it or prove it through video, but I will be doing in future. Every rapid I do, I'm going to video and record. But I feel like that very first rapid charge at Tesco Crawley, before we came back to Hull, I feel that was restricted because we was on that for an hour and we got up to 80% from 12%. And we've had the car down to 7% at across at Manchester, and we've got up to 80% within 40 plus minutes. And whether that was restricted because of it being sat at a low state of charge for 3 weeks, I don't know. I guess none of us know, and we can only guess and surmise. I apologise, I've got an American mint lifesaver in my mouth, a gigantic polo mint. So if I'm sucking on that, I apologise unconsciously. So yeah, so we've not proceeded very far today on either issue, but not knocking the dealer. It's got to go back in, see what happens, to see if they can find the problem with this tapping. And yes, like I say, we'll email customer services and await their response and go from there. So not a very exciting video, it's what it is. It's just all part of owning this e-NV200 40 kilowatt van, and yeah, just what we're experiencing right now. So thanks for watching. For all those guys who watched the previous video and made it all the way through the 30 plus minutes, your e-NV200 badges are in the mail. Expect to receive them very soon. Oh dear me, what a wacky world I live in. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you've not already subscribed, please subscribe, hit the notification bell to find or to get notification of our latest ramblings, and I'm sure very soon we'll have some more exciting videos coming on. 190 subscribers today, it'll soon be 200. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody who contributes via Twitter. Put the Twitter address at the bottom here. People who help, give advice, had a bit of, you know, give a little bit of funny responses to things. It's all part of the fun. So thanks to everybody who takes the time to contribute on YouTube and Twitter. But for now, this is the end of this exciting episode. We'll see you really soon. Mrs. C will be smiling in the next episode with a bit of prompting. Anyway, thanks for watching. All the best. See you soon. Bye for now.